All right, come on in, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. So we'll do a quick tech check. So let me know if you can hear the sound. Can you hear me? Is it clear? Can you hear the piano in my voice? Let me know if you can hear me with a yes or a thumbs up in the chat box. Uh, all right, come on in, everybody. All right, it's good to see you all. I missed you all last week. And while we're waiting on everyone coming in the room, we're going to get started in the next few moments. But let me know where you are in the world. A lot of you all know already. We've been at this for a while, but some of you I don't know. I don't recognize your name. So let me know where you're from, or at least where you are in the world right now. Huh. Uh, all right, all right. Okay. Well, hello, musicians. If this is your first time, my name is Corey Taylor from skilledmusician.com, where we are helping musicians improve. So thank you so much for joining the live stream. And for those who are going to be watching later, thank you so much for checking out this video. Um, Now, I hope you all are staying safe and practicing a lot. um, for me, I've been shooting a ton of videos, like a ton of videos. Today I think I shot 10. Just a few days ago I think I shot like almost 25 videos. I'm shooting a ton of videos, and all of these videos are for our upcoming membership section. So I have a whole bunch of content that I've been shooting for you all, um, and I was preparing a lesson for the membership section. I don't, for those who are new, I don't have the membership section yet. Well, I'm preparing it, so I'm putting a whole bunch of content there, and we'll be opening it up soon. But I was doing a lesson in the membership section, and it's really, really in depth. It's really, really deep. But what I wanted to do is kind of share with you all just the kind of the opening snippets of the lesson, just to kind of give you something to help you improve, and kind of whet your appetite maybe for the full lesson where we go in really, real depth. Okay. So, but before we jump in, let me just say hi to everybody. Just see where everybody is. Keith, hey Keith, how are you? Yes. So last week I wasn't feeling so hot. No, it wasn't the coronavirus. No, nothing like that. Um, I have last week I had three children that were sick, and then and then my wife was sick. Um, and then I was fine, but then I guess it kind of rubbed off on me. But no, it wasn't nothing like the coronavirus. Hey Patrick, Bashan Vibe. Hey, how are you? Josh, how's it going there? Long time. Kalani Frazier, thanks for being on. Vonna, thanks for being on. Muhammad, thank you for being on. Mr. Briskers, thank you. Ken, Patrick, Lewis, Bass, thanks for being on for the first time. DG, Dan G, yep, I'm staying safe. Hey Vicky, Bill, glad you were able to catch us live. Hey Dwayne, Eric, who else do I see? Irie Goliath. All right, Moses, Mario, Frank. I have someone from London. Wow, I'm not sure if I can pronounce your name. Ijaki, Gaetano Nodi. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Forgive me if I jack that up. Hey Chris, how's it going? All right, cool deal, cool deal. Well, I uh, let's see. Anybody else? All right. So, as you all know, I absolutely enjoy sharing the things I know with you all, and so I wanted to share with you the secret, um, my secret weapon to mastering any song. And then I had another section I wanted to go into, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to get to all of this. As I said, this lesson that I'm preparing for the membership section is really, really in depth. It's pretty intensive, and so I just maybe just kind of hit the um, beginning parts of it. Maybe I'll get into it. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how time goes. As you all know, I try not to keep you here all night, but somehow we end up being here for like an hour and a half. I don't know how it happens every night. Okay, all right. So enough talking. Let's get into it. So my secret weapon to mastering any song, and it actually happens to help you become a amazing accompanist when you're accompanying a singer. And what is that secret weapon that I use? Simply called the skeletal version. And I'll write that on the screen just to make sure everyone can see that. The skeletal version. All right. So the skeletal version. What does that mean? That's not a theory term. That's just a term I've come up with to describe my approach to learning songs. And it just simply means I play the melody and the root of the chord, and that's it. And can I make it through a song just playing that? Because if I can make it through a song playing that, then chances are I can make it through a song adding the chords. The adding the chords is the easy part. The hard part is getting the melody and the root. All right. Now I know that might not seem uh, revelatory, um, but let me explain. Okay, so I started gospel music really really late. I was 17 when I first started playing keyboard in church, and I went to college at 17. So I'd only been playing a few months, and then I went off to college. And in college, uh, um, well, let me just say this. So I went to a church that a small holiness church where they had washboards and people would just start singing, and you had to play. There was no like worship team or praise and worship. There was none of that. You just people from the congregation start singing, and you had to play behind them. And so I learned a good deal. I learned how to play by ear in the few months I had before I went off to college. Um, and I learned how to at least play the primary chords in every key, following people. But there was still a lot I did not know. I could not get every song. I could not master songs. I would try to play at them, but I couldn't fully get them, and it sounded terrible. Half the time people didn't know what I was playing, so I was trying to figure it all out. Um, and then I got involved in jazz. I went to Clemson for my undergrad, and I got involved in the jazz band. And so, as you can probably tell, like when you hear me play, there's definitely a gospel base, but there's also jazz influence, and it's because I kind of started learning them at the same time, almost. Um, and so a lot of things that I play are informed by jazz for sure. So I'm saying this all to say this: in the jazz world, many things are codified; they're written down. Um, if I want to learn how to play a jazz standard, like I don't know, giant steps, or jazz tune, there's a book that has the lead, the melody, and the chords that go with it, and I can look there, and boom, I have it. But if I wanted to learn This Little Light of Mine, where would I go? How do you learn it? Like maybe you can help me now, as we get into this lesson. Like how do you learn songs, especially songs like that? Not the latest stuff like the stuff that's on the radio, but just kind of. And this is for gospel musicians. Just part right here. But how do you go about learning the classic like hymns of the church that might not be in the hymn book? How do you go about learning that stuff? All right, so I'm seeing some answers in the chat. So Keith says it's passed down from others. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it's passed on from others, or you might find a record and throw that on that has a recording um, uh, of the tune, right? Um, let's see who else. Or Dan says, or if you can't read the hymnal, that yeah, I don't know the numbers, and I would hate to venture a guess, but I would say a good number of people don't know how to read the hymnal. So if you can't read the hymnal, where do you get the melody? How do you learn it? How do you learn these songs, right? So, um, oftentimes, and this is what I think. Uh, Monique has it. You learn it by ear, and that's right, and that's right. And you learn it by ear, and there's great value to learning it by ear. But Monique, here's the mistake that most people make, and I want to talk about this error for a moment, and then we're going to get into the solution. I'll show you some of the errors we make. All right, here's the error, especially for gospel musicians trying to learn songs. We start by learning uh, the root. You listen to the root, right? And the chord, and you try to figure out the root in the chord. And that's it. And we stop there. Right? So we learn the chords and the root, and that's it. And that's all we learn. And I know for me, when I think back on my years coming up trying to become a great musician, that was all I really learned. I made sure I could play the bass, or if I was playing like a bass line, or and I had the chords. That's how. if I got fancy, I maybe do a walking bass line. And that was the extent of all like how we learn a song. That was it. That was it. And I thought I was well. I never thought I was that good. I thought it was terrible. So I didn't have any illusions of grandeur. I knew I was bad. All right. So what is the point? I think, especially for gospel musicians, and even from the hymns of the church, even to the songs on the radio now, I think we do ourselves a disservice because we don't learn the melody. And once I kept hearing about the importance of the melody. I'd hear older cats talk about the importance of the melody. I'd hear, I'd hear, I'd see like the greats talk about, yeah, melody is where it is. But I never really understood like all the implications of it. And so I'm giving you my secret stuff right here. Uh, Melody is the key to everything I do, even the chords I play. It all is derived from the melody, which is why when I'm learning a song, I learn what I call the skeletal version. So no embellishments, no anything. Can I play the melody and the root of the chord? So if I take a song, any song like Amazing Grace. All right, and I go through the whole song. Matter of fact, I recently had a student who couldn't believe that I did this for every song. And so my student just challenged me, just told me a song and told me in key, and was like, "Can you play the melody down?" And it's like, "Well, yeah, because I worked this out, because it's how I play now. I can't imagine playing any other way. Well, I can't imagine it, but I wouldn't want to do it, right?" So starting with the melody. So here's my question to you all. So y'all let me know yes or no. If I was to name a song, and I said, I want you to play me the skeletal version of this song, could you play it? If I said, and if you're at your keyboard right now, take the challenge. If I said to you, can you play? I'll do a church song. No. What's that song? The challenge that's coming out right. He's got the whole world in his hands. If I said, can you play? He's got the whole world in his hands. Just the melody, and the root. Could you do it without mistake? So let me know in the chat. Y'all let me know either yes or no. I could play it perfectly without mistake. Or no, I couldn't. Bashan Vibe says it depends on the song. Okay, that's an honest answer. All right. And for those that I do not have perfect pitch. I longed for it for many years, trying to get it, but no, I don't have it. So could you, if I said play any song? Isaiah Clark says no. MLS, I think I pronounced it, says yes, I can play any song. All right. Now here's what I say. The ones that can do this, this is a test that you never hear about that separates the really, really good musicians from those that are still coming up trying to reach that level. So if you're able to do that, then if I had to bet money on like who was a really good musician that could really, really play, then the ones that are solid, yes, I can do this, Corey, I would say, yeah, it's probably you. Because there are so many benefits that knowing the melody has. And I want to get into a few things. All right, so let me just finish that thought. There are so many benefits. First off, the first benefit is the chord selection. The chords I choose are based on the melody. So I'm never playing anything. Well, the goal is to never play anything that clashes with the melody. So a lot of times I'm playing the melody. So the stuff I'm playing works. And since I was thinking about the song, he's got the whole world, and I've kind of, I don't know, been thinking in the key of D recently, so I'm gonna play in D. So all right. Chris says, if you don't know the melody, you don't know the song. Hey, that's a good point. Hey, Leon. And somebody else said something earlier. Bashan Vibe says most hymns go from the 1 to the 4 or the 1 to the 5. That's true. So if, like, especially this, every time on church music, and most music, but especially church music, goes to from the 1 to the 4. So if all these songs go from the 1 to the 4, what separates them? What makes them different? You know, now a lot of musicians will play them all the same way, and you never know what they're playing. It's all the same sound. Um, but um, the melody changes things, right? Let's see. Monique says, "Isn't the bass note equally important or more?" Now, melody is most important, Monique. The bass changes all the time. For instance, what I just did. The bass note is important, or the root note, which is why I said the skeletal version, which is the melody and the root. This is what you should start off learning. Um, but Monique, to that point, like at the end of that song, he's got the whole world, he's got the whole world, he's got the whole world in innocence, he's got the. I'm in D, but I went to F, then B flat. See that? Nah, I played that just because it's not even in the key. I'm just having fun with it. Right? And for those that are in the know, that's kind of that's kind of one of the secrets to reharmonization. All right. So one of the questions is, how do you determine the bass note while only knowing the melody? With only knowing the melody. Well, you got to listen to the song and determine. You got to listen to like a good version and get like a standard form of the song. All right. So let me show you kind of how this works. And I teach students all the time, every week, from literally from all around the world. And I teach hundreds of students here in the local Metro Atlanta area. And so I see common mistakes all of the time. So here's one. Students are trying to figure out the chords to something simple like Amazing Grace. So, and so they look at the bass and are saying, whatever the bass says, that's what my chord is. So they'll do this, again, my key. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. And they'll do that. And could you hear what happened right there at the very end? Could you hear that? How that was not right? Did you hear that? Was blind. Was blind, but what is it? Was blind, but now I see. Can you hear that? How there's something not right there. Was blind, but now I see. Well, if I'm simply looking at the root, then the root says it's 5 right there. It's G. That's the chord. So I should be playing G, and there shouldn't be any question. Was blind, but now I see. Bashan says no life at all. Yeah, but what am I missing? What am I missing there? Well, what is the melody right there? And I want you all to catch this because it's really really important. This is the secret. All right, watch this. Here it is. That's right. Keith has it. The melody right there is E. So then, what is my chord? Louis says it should be G over C. You mean C over G? Yeah. So it could be C over G. Right? Or it could be E minor. Like a G6. All right. Let's see. Someone says G sus 13. Let's see. So G13 sus works. Yeah. But here's the thing. I see you come up with some great suggestions. Keith says C, second inversion. Well done, Keith. Now Keith can play. But what informs that choice? It's the melody. The melody. Right? The melody informs it. So not the root. Let me say that again. The root informs it, yes, but the melody also. They work hand to hand. This is why I think it's really important for you to learn the skeletal version of songs before you start trying to add chords. Just be able to play the melody and the root. And then a little side note, just between me and you. Sometimes, you're asked to solo or like just play the song. You know, in church you might be asked just to play the song. Just go let the musicians play. They might say. And at that point it's your time to play the melody because no one else is singing it. And if you don't know it, it's like, okay, I guess we can kind of understand the song since we've been singing it, but it's so much better. And if you're out on a gig or soloing like that, understanding the melody. Now, coming from a jazz point of view, you have to know the melody in order to solo. It's because the melody informs your solo. All right, let me give you another example. Y'all know that song? I love you, Jesus. So. All right. Well, let's start at the top of that one, and y'all tell me what this is. So, I lift my hands into. What's this next chord? What's that next chord right after that? I lift my hands into. What's the next chord? Come on, somebody has to have it. Come on, I lift my hands into. What's the next chord right after that? Come on, who can get that? And for those watching the replay, yeah, I'm looking to see if anybody can get it before I give the answer. I don't want to give the answer away. All right. So Maestro says the 4. MCS says D flat major 7. Victor says the 4. Trini says D flat. Victor says D flat. Ezra says a half step up. Now, so the majority of people are saying D flat. And that's only half the story. I hear this so many times, and I'm like, that's the wrong chord. Why? Listen, I lift my hands in total adoration. It's not that. It's not D flat. So if you said D flat major 7, that's not it. That's not it. Let's listen. Let's listen to the melody. Lift my hands in total adoration. The melody is G. The melody is G there. So when you play D flat, like just straight D flat, and especially if your voice like with a D A flat on top, it clashes with the melody. I'll do it again. I lift my hands in total adoration. The melody's G. So, and we know the root is D flat. So what is this chord? Well, it's D flat major with a sharp 11. Or some of you are calling it E flat over D flat. You can call it that as well. It's the same idea. So I lift my hands in total adoration. That's the sound. Right? So I lift my hands in total All right. So that's another mistake that musicians, gospel musicians, I hear it all the time. I'm like, oh, like, and it's clear you didn't learn the melody. And there are tons more examples. I mean, like a ton more examples where it's clear that the musician doesn't know the melody, and so because of that, um, um, they're just kind of playing just the chords and hoping to get by. But it's important because that informs this G informs our chord choice, and so you get different chords. Like this, one of my favorite chords ever. Like you think, where would that chord ever be used? This, well, it's in I Love You, Jesus. So, and you know, did you hear what I just did there? Because I had the melody going, I just played some random bass notes, um, and I don't know. To my ear, it sounded decent. I don't know about if it was the same for you, but to my ear, it sounded decent. I did it again. I just play. I'm gonna play random notes. I've never tried this. This is it might flop. Um, but let's see. Let's see. Let's do something weird. um, All right, so that's kind of like I just kind of made some random choices there, just trying stuff I would never do, and I don't know it worked. So are y'all all seeing like the importance of learning the skeletal version, learning the melody and just the root of the chord? Like so often we stop at just learning the root. Like oh it's four, then it's four. That's not what it is. There's so much more to it. So if you're at that level, then the next level is learn the melody because sometimes it's not four. It's not just four by itself. All right. All right. Um man, I am just like I literally am just getting into the tip of the iceberg here. And I have so much more to share. I'm trying to think about my time here. I don't want to go too long, and have y'all here all night. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let me tell you what. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop the lesson right here. I got so much more to share. Um, but listen. All right. Let me just do this. Okay. Uh, um, let's see. If the rest of this lesson, it's a pretty in-depth lesson. It's this is something I was so for those that came on late. Let me just kind of restate. Um, this is a part of a lesson that I am doing for our membership section that has not been released yet, but it will be available soon. And so, if you are interested um, in learning more, um, sign up here, and I'll let you know when that membership section is available, um, so you can get this because this there's a whole bunch of stuff in the membership section that I'm putting in there. It's I literally been shooting a lot of videos every day. I think I did 10 today. I did like 25 almost the other day. I did the day before I did like 30 to 14. I've been shooting a ton of videos. Um, and so I put it again. I put a link in the chat box to sign up there so I can let you know when we launch the membership site, so you can get hold of the full teaching because like we're just getting into the tip of the iceberg, and I want to keep going, but I'm gonna have to pull myself back. Because I want to get into the really really deep stuff. But if once I start, I can't stop. It's like eating like what's that? Lay's potato chips or Pringles. Once I start, I can't stop, and I promise you, we will be here the rest of the night. And I definitely want to honor your time. So here's what I do. I just take some questions. So let me know. I see some questions already. All right. Nate the Traffic Guy. How do you know what chords you could use to accompany the melody? All right, Nate. That's a great question. All right. So one, um, I know the basic chords of the song. So that informs like what chords I choose, and so I know certain relationships as well. And so first learn the basic chords of the song. So if it's one, then four, then five, or whatever it is, right? And then there are some relationships that some chords are brothers, kind of deal. They're related, so you can use one in place of the other. And so then I have choices. That said, though, I'll give you the secret, Nate. Um, like you can almost do any chord. Now but but if you do that, you gotta treat it in a certain way. Um, so yeah. Um, Sasha Boo Boo says I steal chords from your tours and make songs. You are a major inspiration. Cool deal. I definitely don't mind. Um, I've actually I've gotten to do lessons with producers and of all kinds, and they take the chords and ideas from our lessons and create hits on the radio, so I don't mind. Let's see, Bashan. The one thing I tell songwriters is to give me the basic before you give me the finished product. I need to hear the melody so I can get what is in your head. Exactly right, Bashan. New Morale says, will you do a lifetime membership? I think I might. Keith Wilson. Keith, you are reading my mind. Keith, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you. That's all I say. You're reading my mind. Yep, you're reading my mind. Monique says, thank you. Thanks, Monique. Okay. So a couple of questions while we're hanging out. I'll hang out for a few more minutes. Is everybody getting more practice time in? Are y'all able to? Are y'all doing? All right. Let me know who's getting 4 hours a day in. 4 hours. Who's getting 4 hours a day in during this the kind of lockdown pandemic time? Who's getting 4 hours in? No one? No one? All right, let me lower it. Who's getting 2 hours in? 2 hours. Okay, wow. Wow. So yeah, Keith says he is. George says 2 hours. Sasha says 6 plus. Woo. Wow. Moses says yes, yes. Ron Chadwick says yes. Keith says I'm at 3. Okay, Keith. Yes, Nate. Always be honest. Give me the honest truth. Uh, I've been stuck learning 7 steps to heaven. Oh, that's fun stuff. I remember those days. Fun stuff. Uh, Fun stuff. Richmond says 4. Okay, cool, cool, cool. You should definitely. Um, Now, let me ask you this. So I'm giving out tips. All right. I personally, um, um, I personally say your practice session should have. Well, I have a couple theories, but one theory is that your practice time should have 3 things. It should have one, technique time. This is where you're working on technique. That's scales, arpeggios. Working on your technique so you can clearly execute the ideas that you want to play. So oftentimes I see musicians that have great ideas but are unable to execute the ideas they want because they don't have the requisite technique. And so it makes for a sloppy presentation when I know it could be amazing if you only work on your technique. So are you working on technique? Like, so I would tell you personally, for me, my goal every day is 2 hours a day of practice, and 1 hour. Now sometimes actually it's a little longer sometimes than 2 hours, but 1 hour is for technique. It's where I'm going through scales, arpeggios, and just kind of ironing out. I've been doing some pentatonic lines with some patterns and stuff to get and to get it clean, so that when I go to reach for it, when I'm playing, it's there and it's clean and clear. So are you working on technique in your practice session? Yes? No? Let me know let me know in the chat section. All right. Um, all right. And then the second thing that I think you should be working on is mastering an idea, a concept, something. As I tell my students, something that resonated with you, that you're learning it, breaking it apart, and really getting it under your fingers. Let's see. All right. So someone asked if I had a example of technique, and here's a video I did where I talked about how I practice my technique for you. Uh, all right. So then, yeah, some ideas. So for me, at the start of the year, I have a goal, like one thing I want to learn, or a set of things I want to learn. So I have a set. So like one year it was talk music, one year it was like devotional music. For my gospel side, and then for the jazz side, it might be rhythm changes in all 12 keys, or blues in all 12 keys, just um, or just something, right? And so I always have that to practice. And then I think you should always be transcribing, always be getting new, fresh ideas. Sasha says I need to work more on technique because you're right. Sometimes things get lost. Exactly, exactly. Moses, hey Corey, should we always play the melody throughout the whole song or sometimes give it a break? If someone's singing the melody, then you can let them sing the melody and you can play something else. Ron says, no, I've been working more on chord movements. Well, it's important that you get the technique work in. Bill says, how do you select your inner chords? Bill, the inner chords are all a function of where I'm going. So um, um, where's mine? Let me just kind of draw this out. It's a great question, and that's kind of the secret to it. Let's say this is me, and I'm walking this way, and I walk here to this blue rock, and then I suddenly changed directions and started walking this way. And so the question that someone might ask is, Corey, why did you change directions and go that way right here? And it's because I'm trying to get to this place. So the inner chords, all the stuff that's happening in between chords, is in direct response to where I'm going. Okay? All right. Melvin, you got to get. I hear you, Melvin. I definitely understand, but you have to work on technique as well, because technique is how you it, it it's how you play. It's how you get your ideas out um, clearly. It's how you get your ideas out clearly. If you don't have great technique, then it'll be choppy. You'll go to reach or something. It's like, you know, and it'll be close. Um, and you might say, "Oh, I'm not warm yet. I'm not warm, so I gotta wait till I get warm first. Then I'll be able to play it cleanly." Like, no, no, no. You gotta work it. You gotta definitely work those out. Um, I remember, and I'm a big fan of Donald Brown. Donald Brown is a jazz pianist and composer and teacher. Um, and I got a chance to be in a master class with him, and he is like he is he's a monster, but he has some issues I think with arthritis, and so his hands weren't able to play what you knew he could play. So he played, and it wouldn't come out as clean as what I know he's hearing. Um, but his was because of a physical injury that wouldn't allow him to do what he wanted to do. And if you got his album, then you heard it from years ago. Um, but oftentimes I hear that's kind of how a lot of musicians play, and I don't want that to be your lot. I want you to be clear. I don't want you to have to worry about. I want you to be able to say what you want to say without any issue. Right. Melvin says moving drop twos are the death of me. Yeah. I spent many months mastering those, like for hours a day for many months. So I understand what you mean. Prashant says understanding how 251 helps. Yeah, and understanding the inner chords for sure. Bob says, what is the most effective way to train my ears? I have struggled hearing what's going on during performances. Like I can sit down and figure out the progression by myself at the piano, but I can't do it in real time. And okay, let's see. That's a great question, Bob. What is the most effective way to train your ear? Well, there are multiple ways to train your ears. Um, and they're all effective. So you can do kind of ear training like inner valley training, like what is that interval? What is that interval? Or you can do kind of trying to hear chords. Is that major or minor? And kind of doing this thing. So you can do that. And I suggest you do those. But then also, I suggest you transcribe. So sit down with the record and say, I'm going to figure this portion out. And don't leave, like it might be just a 3-second section, but don't leave until you get it. Because this is what happens, Bob. This is what happens. This is the magic of transcription that not a lot of people talk about. I think Sean talks about it, maybe Sean Wilson. I think he talks about it, but not a lot of people talk about it. Here's what happens. When you learn, like let's say I'm trying to figure out this section, and I finally figure out that the chord the guy is playing is this one, or let's say it's that. I finally figured that out. I've been trying to figure it out forever, and I finally figured it out. Well, here's the thing. I kept the record on repeat so many times trying to figure out what this guy was playing. And so now I finally figured it out. That's the chord. Guess what? I will never forget that chord. That chord has become a friend of mine. And I could recognize that chord anywhere. I had the record on repeat. I listened to it at least 100 times, and then I played it. I know that chord. It's not going anywhere in my mind. Like I know it. And like a student asked me, played something the other day, and of course I couldn't see their hands. But I said, "Oh, that's this chord." I was like, "Well, how do you know that?" Because I know that sound. I don't have perfect pitch, but I know that sound. And it's because I spent time transcribing this stuff and finally got it. And it's like, oh, that's a friend of mine. I know that sound very clearly. And sometimes trying to find that sound, I'd find another sound. And it's like, okay, well, I have that sound too, and now the new sound. It's like, you see, like, that's one of the advantages of transcription. You're constantly playing the same sound over and over and over and over, and by the end of it, you know it. Ron says, is there any particular scale that helps technique? Well, definitely check out this video, Ron, that I just put in the chat. And then Peter Martin had an interesting blog podcast where he talked about using the chromatic scale, just to kind of, and I think the chromatic scale is an interesting scale. So yeah, but major scales are fine. All right, so Bashan, can you explain the difference between a drop 2 and a minor 7 sharp 5? Drop 2 is just the voicing type. Minor 7 sharp 5 is the chord. I don't know what you mean. So if I had minor 7 with the sharp 5, this sound, I mean, but that's minor 7 with the sharp 5. If I drop 2 it, I'll bring the A flat down. So it looks like that. But drop 2 is a way to voice chords. So those you don't compare those. Drop two is a way to voice the chord. Drop two is a way to voice the minor seven sharp five chord. If you catch what I'm saying, or maybe tell me more what you're saying. Um, let's see. Urban says I never really transcribed, but I picked Doobie Pal to start with. Wow, wow. Well, that's yeah. Go ahead, go for it. Doobie has a lot of like these close and kind of sounds that once you get it, it'll open the whole world for you for sure. Leon says, "Who was the jazz pianist that you mentioned?" Donald Brown. I'll type his name in the chat for you. Donald Brown. Um, so I'm a big fan of Cherney. Melvin. Melvin asks, let's see, and I'll show you. Uh, there are a couple. Where's my main book? Let's see if I can find my main one. Is it right here on my desk? But I'm a big fan of Cherney. Of course, I grew up on Hannon, but I fell away from Hannon because I didn't like his his emphasis on finger height. Let's see. I want to give y'all my favorite one, and I have it right here on my desk somewhere, but I don't know where it went. Well, if you want a book, let me see. I'm trying to find it for you because this one is really important. Aha! Found it. Yes. Cherney. Let's see. Maybe you can see it right here. Opus 337. I am a big fan of this one. So Cherney, Opus 337. So can you see that? Or maybe I'll do it like this. I'm not sure. It might be too bright. No, yeah, it's too bright. So anyway, yeah. So Cherney Opus. I'll write it in the chat so you can see it. So Opus 337 for the piano is. I definitely recommend that. I recommend all Cherney stuff, to be honest. I'm a big fan. All right. What's the difference between the minor 6 and the minor 7/5 chord? So Ezra asked, what's the difference between G minor 6 and E minor 7/5? And there's nothing. It was the same notes. Yeah. Yeah. And so, because there's no difference, I will do the things that I might do over G minor 6, I'll do over E minor 7/5. So if I might do something like a, so I'll say first I might do that. So to G minor 6. Well, I do the same thing to E minor 7/5. Okay. Noriko, totally forgot today is Wednesday. It's alright, Noriko. Alright. Any other questions, y'all? Yeah, those are drop twos. Yeah. Drop two. Okay. Oh man, somehow Ron asks, how does open chord voicing work with this? How does open chord voicing work with what? I'm not sure of your question. Work with what? Okay. So any more questions before we sign off for today? Ooh. Okay, so Ron says, how does open chord voicings work with the melody? Um, just how you harmonize it. I'm not sure. Uh, you can harmonize the melody however you want. You can do open voicings. Open chord voicing is just a voicing type to. So you want to harmonize the melody using whatever. Tertiary harmony, quartal voicings, open it's just a voicing type. If I want to harmonize, or so I'll do Simon's note. Sorry, do it again. That was interesting. I'll do that. Uh, Sam Cadet says, "What are some good songs to learn if you're a beginner to blues?" Oh, C Jam Blues. That's a good one. Sorry. Um, Ezra says, "How do you go about creating movements on scales like this?" I have a whole course where we deal about chordal movements and progressions. Ezra, it's called chordal movements and progressions. So I go into depth, and we cover. It's like I don't know how many hours. It's more than 12. It might be 13, 14, 15 hours of just non-stop. It's pretty intense. So you should check that out. Mm. Okay, all right. Well, listen, y'all. Thank y'all so much. I really enjoyed y'all being on today. This was lots of fun. Thanks, Keith. Uh, thanks for being on, and y'all be safe and get a lot of practicing in. So until the next time, be blessed and happy practicing.